Welcome. Let's graph y equals mx plus b with a negative integer slope via the slope y-intercept method. Consider the example. Graph y equals negative 3x minus 1. To do this, you need to do 4 steps. Step 1. Find the b value and use 0, b as your y-intercept. Step 2. Use the slope and 0, b to find the second point. Step 3. Use the slope and second point to find the third point. And step 4. Draw a straight line through the 3 points, then label your line. Step 1. Find the b value and use 0, b as your y-intercept. So, looking carefully at our equation, y equals negative 3x minus 1. The m is the leading coefficient in front of the x. It's negative 3. The b is the last component. It's negative 1. So let's look at that again closely and use that information to help us graph the y-intercept. So what do we know? Just to reiterate, we know that the slope is negative 3 over 1. Okay, so what does that mean, negative 3 over 1? What that means is that for every 3 units you go down between 2 consecutive y values, that you are going to go 1 unit to your right between 2 consecutive x values. So the b value is negative 1. That means the y-intercept is 0b, but in this case b is negative 1, so therefore 0, negative 1 is the y-intercept. Now you're ready to plot the y-intercept and follow steps 2 to 4 later on. So now let's proceed to graph our y-intercept. So what do? We understand now that the y-intercept is 0, negative 1. Now to plot it, do as follows. First, start at the origin. Second, go down 1 unit. Third, plot and label the point. So, start at the origin. Go 1 unit down. Now plot and label the point as follows. Now you're ready to use the slope and the y-intercept to find your second point. So for step 2, we're going to use the slope and 0, b to find our second point. From 0, negative 1, use the slope as a guide to your second point. Recall that the slope was negative 3 over 1. This means go down 3 units between 2 consecutive y values and go 1 unit to the right between 2 consecutive x values. So now let's find the second point. To do the second point, follow these 4 steps. Start at the 0, negative 1, or the y-intercept. Go down 3 units, go right 1 unit, and plot and label the point. So, start at 0, negative 1, and what do? You go down 3 units, like so. So, go down vertically 3 units, and once you've done that, the next step is to go 1 unit to your right, like so. And you can now label this point. What are we going to label it? 1, negative 4. From 1, negative 4, use the slope as a guide to your third point. Recall that the slope was negative 3 over 1, so you go down 3 units between 2 consecutive y values and go 1 unit to your right between 2 consecutive x values. Thus, to plot the third point, we follow these 4 steps. Start at 1, negative 4, go down 3 units, go 1 unit to your right, and plot and label the point. So, let's start at 1, negative 4. What do? Well, we go down 3 units, like so. So going down vertically 3 units, we then go across 1 unit to our right. So to reiterate, we start at 1, negative 4, go down 3 units, and then go across 1 unit. And once we've done that, we've plotted our point, and we label our point as 2, negative 7. Step 4, draw a straight line through the 3 points, then label the line. So, starting at 0, negative 1, 1, negative 4, and 2, negative 7, draw a straight line between these 3 points, like so. Once this is done, label your line as y equals negative 3x minus 1. Let's review how to graph y equals negative 3x minus 1. Step 1, we used b equals negative 1 because it was the last component of our equation, and thus we use 0, negative 1 as our y-intercept. To plot the point, we started at 0, 0. We then went down 1 unit, and then we labeled the point 0, negative 1. To find the second point, we used the second step. We found the slope to be negative 3 over 1, and so we used 0, negative 1 and the slope to find the second point. So what did we do? We went down 3 units, and then we went across to our right by 1 unit, plotted the point, and labeled it as 1, negative 4. To find the third point, what did we do? We went down 3 units, and then we went across 1 unit to our right. We plotted the point and labeled it as 2, negative 7. For step 4, we looked at 0, negative 1, 1, negative 4, and 2, negative 7, and drew a straight line between these 3 points. And then finally, we drew our little label, which was y equals negative 3x minus 1. And thus, we have shown you all 4 steps for drawing y equals negative 3x minus 1.